Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast. And yes, we are your number one podcast to bring you stories around death, dying, and grief and all the messiness that comes in between with some amazing people out here changing people's lives one heartbeat at a time. Now, this is a live stream, so if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we go. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that if this is your first time tuning in, please do me a favor, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. But most importantly, this is for educational purposes only. Now, without further ado, guys, help me welcome my guest, Casey Kang, to the show. Casey, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here today. I couldn't wait to do this with you.
I'm excited. I'm truly excited. Now, before we get started, introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Casey Kang. I am a trauma-informed cancer coach. I am also a 3-time cancer survivor and stroke survivor. I currently live in Santa Barbara, but I've only been here for a year and a half. That's why I say this. I'm from Chicago. So
nice. A big old shot town over there.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about your journey.
So I was diagnosed February 14th, 2014. I was 31 at the time. And it changed my life, to be honest. The cancer that I was diagnosed with is called acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and it's a rare children's cancer to begin with. And to be diagnosed at 31 in the young adult category, it's even rarer. I think globally, 1,000 people a year are diagnosed with the type of cancer that I was. And I was immediately hospitalized for 30 days for treatment. And we started treatment before we had confirmation that it was actually cancer. They weren't so sure that that's what it was, that we started treatment immediately. And you don't expect to be going to work that day and then going to a doctor's appointment going, I'll be back after lunch, because that was my lunch break, and then to not see coworkers for the next 8 months, basically.
Wow. So I got a question, because immediately, I started, knowing a few people who have had that news. Unfortunately, some didn't make it, right? But I've watched them when they got that news, and the element of surprise or the look of disappointment was there. Can you walk us through that moment when you got that diagnosis?
It was definitely disbelief. I was very sick. There were a lot of things going on in hindsight that I was ignoring or attributing to stress in my life and work and anything but something very serious. And so when I was in the ER and the doctor handed my now ex-husband was with me, and he handed him the sheet of paper, not even me, and said, "This is what we think she has. We think it's cancer." And I said, "What?" Like, it's like everything went black. And I just remember joking, like, he can't be right. Like, he's got to be wrong. Like, like, no way, no chance. It's that. And sure enough, like, as my husband was reading the paper, I kept going like, well, what does it say? What does it say? And he goes, they think it's a children's cancer. And like, he's like trying to ingest the information I'm trying to process. And I just go, what? Like, it felt like the world just collapsed in that moment.
Man, first and foremost, I want to say, thank you for being a survivor, right? And sharing that bit with us. But you was actually diagnosed 2 other times as well, correct?
What?
Because so you beat that one,
Yeah.
right? And went into remission. How did the other 2 come about?
So I reached remission and finished my treatment protocol, which was 18 months. I had 7 weeks of being cancer-free and no treatment. and I knew I was sick again. I was traveling for work. I was back at work, and we were visiting a friend in Michigan. And that weekend, I knew something was wrong. I didn't want to deal with it, so I just like kind of tried to ignore it. Um,
Mhm.
but I knew something wasn't right. And so that Monday, I went back to work, and I was like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, I really didn't want to, and I kept like pushing off getting blood work, and I was like, I got to deal with this. It's now or I don't know what else is gonna happen, but I was like, "I have to go get blood work." So I think I ended up going on, like, a Wednesday, and I got blood work, and they called me almost an hour like, less than an hour later, and usually, like, you don't get blood results that quickly when you're doing
Right.
outpatient, and it was my oncologist, and she said, "You have to come to the hospital immediately. Your cancer is back." And that actually hurt worse than the first time.
Mhm.
I was at work. I put my phone down and I, like, ran into my boss's office, closed the door, and I fell to the ground sobbing. And she was like, "What just happened?" She had no clue. And I said, "It's back." And honestly, to this day, I still have to talk to my ex-husband. I don't remember how I got to the hospital. I don't know if I drove, someone drove me. It was like the last thing I remember is her ushering me out of the office, and that was it. Like, I genuinely have no clue who got me to the hospital.
Wow. And I can still tell those emotions are still there, and I want to say thank you for being vulnerable in that. And wow, just your resilience, just to see you here sitting there to be able to share that version of it and everything. How did your family and friends receive this information as well as your coworkers, right? Because your boss was there the first time, correct?
Uh,
And
yeah, I mean, like, I had to call her and tell her it was a Friday, and tell her I wasn't coming back to the office, and we didn't know when I would be, uh, the first time. And the second time, she just I could see the look on her face of, like, "Oh my god, like, you have to like, this is not okay." And I don't I genuinely, Tony, like, I couldn't even share that it was back with people. Sadly, my ex-husband had to bear the brunt of that conversation with so many people, because I couldn't
right.
even I couldn't tell people and look at people's reactions and faces to that news.
Wow, because so many questions are going through my head right now. And, just to know that the support, that support wasn't there, or, it could have been there, but you chose not to. And I can definitely understand that, right? Because some news, it takes a while to absorb, right? And even try to make sense of it, you know? And so there's a lot of grief that comes along with that, right? I mean, you've had to re-identify yourself several times over. And what was that process like? Like having to process that grief and going, you know, this is this is this is not good, right? And
Yeah.
having to face the world through different eyes yet again.
The second time I was diagnosed, it was like all the hope just drains out of your body, and there's almost a disbelief of feeling like you're starting over, feeling like you failed at something, like that you didn't know you were you could fail at.
Yeah,
There's a loss of who you are in in that moment. Like, you're I'm coming out of treatment, and like, the last back half of my treatment was maintenance, so it wasn't as aggressive. And I was starting to, like, okay, dig myself and, like, what does this mean for my life? Starting to ask those questions and have that conversation internally. And then just to be like, all that all that progress stopped and go, we're back at square one. Like, we can't even think about a future again because we're going into survival again.
Wow. And that's a different sort of survival, right? Because this is one of those, I mean, most survival that people go through is a question of whether or not we're going to make it, right? But yours is kind of, yours is different because it's like, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't type thing, right?
Right.
Um, and so now, how is the husband receiving this after watching you go through it a second time?
I think it took a toll on him probably more than me because I was just like, "Okay, you know what you need to do. Get back to what you did the first time that helped you get through it." And to him, I think it was much more devastating. Um, we kept thinking about the future. We kept thinking about, like, what are we gonna do next? And now to be right back where we started, I think was a lot more devastating for him. I mean, I could see the look on his face of just like, "Man, like, I know this is gonna sound horrible, but, like, if you're gonna die, like, why didn't you die the first time?" Like, it sounds terrible to say out loud, but, like, that's kinda, like, the look and the feeling of it. It's like, why are we delaying the inevitable if that happens?
Right. And as crazy as it may sound, it doesn't sound crazy, right?
I know.
Because as a human being, we don't want to see our loved ones suffer. We don't, especially people that we deeply care about, deeply love, things like that. And to watch someone go through that a second time, I can definitely I can understand. Do it sound messed up? Yes, but is it the reality? Yes. So there, no matter how you look at it, there is a sense of, I don't want to see you suffer. Why couldn't this just be over? The first time. That way I can deal with what I need to deal with. And then you'll not be in so much pain. You wouldn't be so sick and things like that. But you be dealt with as well.
Yeah. Well, yes, by a miracle of, treatment, so we ran out of treatment options. The doctors came to me and said, like, "Your body's not responding to chemotherapy. We wanna try this immunotherapy." That failed. It almost killed me. And then I was supposed to go on a clinical trial. That got shut down, a week before I was supposed to start, and literally, I had one other option at a different hospital, but it was another clinical trial, and it was full, and there's no line skipping with clinical trials. So, my doctors, I kinda read between the lines, they were like, we can't guarantee that you'll even qualify." Which, like, usually they're more hopeful in their language than that. So I kind of in my brain was like, "Oh my god, I'm not gonna qualify. I'm not even gonna be able to do this something." So that wasn't an option, and literally, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society annual doctors conference had just finished. There was another immunotherapy they had just developed. At the time, it was not for my cancer, the type of leukemia that I had. So my doctor comes to me and says, "Do you wanna try this?" I was like, doesn't sound like I have a lot of options." Um, and given what I had just been through with the other immunotherapy, I was not really excited to go try this. And so I just kept thinking in the back of my mind, like, if this kills me, but helps somebody else, maybe it is worth it. And so I went back to her and I said, "Okay, we're going to do it. What do we have to do?" And so we wrote a letter of compassion to the FDA and the drug manufacturer just to get access to it. And after 2 months of waiting, uh, it was approved. They gave it to me. It's called compassionate care. It's basically when they know you have no other options left, and basically you're throwing darts at a dartboard hoping something works, but
Right.
not really. There's not a lot of hope in it.
Right.
Um, and that's what got me into remission the second time to have a stem cell transplant for my brother. And then as I was recovering from that is when I relapsed the third time.
Mm. No, I want to get into the science behind that, right? Because as you was talking about it, here you are being treated for it, and your immune system is pretty much shattered at this moment. Like you have nothing to fight with, and you go into remission and you relapse again
Yeah.
while doing the treatment.
Hmm.
So walk us through that process real quick, because you've already said to yourself, like, if I don't make it, maybe it can help someone else. So you've accepted the fact that there's a 50-50 chance,
Yeah.
right? And then you relapse.
Hmm.
What's Walk us through the process that having to process that.
The third time, I think it was devastating. I was not feeling any different. They caught it extremely early. They because I was getting blood work every week still at this point. I was about 6 months post transplant, and um, I couldn't believe it. I I literally looked up at my ex-husband after they told us, and I said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I'm done." Like, I was so physically and mentally depleted that I couldn't. Like, I all my resources went to the first 2 times, and, like, to be back at square one, which the type of leukemia that I had, if you relapse a third time, the odds of making it are very slim to none. And so I knew this, and I was like, I'm gonna die. Like, this is really not okay. And I just wanted to give up. And so I started crying, like, in the doctor's office. And my ex-husband, I don't know why he said this, but he goes, "Whatever you decide is what we're gonna do." And I think he knew how exhausted I was, because, like, we're on, like, year 4 at this point. And so I the voice that popped into my head was, "Your dad would be so disappointed in you." And I was like, "Oh, that guy, of course." I was like, "Of course." And I thought about it, and I was like, "To fight so hard and then just give up? Yeah, he would be very disappointed in me." Um, and I looked back up at my ex-husband, I said, "One more time. That's it. We're done." And that's when I, quote, unquote, "made my deal with the universe." In my head, I was thinking, I would go, "I got one more in me." I go, "But this isn't for me. I've accepted that I'm gonna die. I don't care if I live or die." I go, "This is for everyone that moved mountains to get me here, right?" Like, the support that I had, the driven to appointments, like, all the things that require that. I was like, "This is for them." I'm like, "'Cause I'm not giving up, because they literally moved mountains to get me here."
Mhm.
So I said, "But we're done." I go, "You're either gonna kill me or you're gonna let me live. I'm not doing this for the rest of my life." And so we did. The plan at the time originally was uh, immunotherapy and then stem cell transplant again. And I was like, "Okay." I was like, gearing up, ready to go. And we did 4 rounds of an immunotherapy, and we waited. My team called an audible, and they said, "We're just gonna wait and see what happens." And I was like, "This is a terrible plan." Like, what are we
I'm
talking
laughing.
about?
I'm laughing because you started laughing because their person was like, "Hold on, what do you mean to tell me that? No, this is what?"
Yeah, that's what I said out loud. I was like, "This is a terrible plan." I
I
mean,
love
it's
your
just like,
personality.
what do you mean we have all these things we can do, and you're just gonna, like, wait and see what happens?
In a lot of ways, Casey, I can understand that as well, right? Because I can see and hear in your voice, the emotions that you were feeling, right? And those are some deep emotions right there. Like a part of you is just like, I've already accepted this,
Yeah,
you know. But the gratitude that I see right now is those emotions are a sense of wow, of happiness and gratitude and appreciation.
yeah,
And although you had to go through that and listen to those doctors say something like, "We're just going to wait," I can only imagine then it wasn't funny, but you're looking at it right now going, That was funny. I'm sorry. That was right.
Yeah.
And so I could definitely dig it. I could definitely dig it. Most definitely. Um, and so now what was the process like? After you get that get that statement saying we're just going to wait, and you're going, okay, well that's a horrible plan, right? So what goes on after that? What goes on after that?
So I just I we kept so my body was still really depleted from everything. So I was still getting like platelets and blood and all these other things, ancillary treatments to keep me alive, like magnesium and all these things. And I was able to thankfully do a lot of like the easier stuff like magnesium at home. So I could do
Mhm.
it myself. I had like an IV pole and everything, and I would just be like walking around the house in the IV pole, hooked myself up. I'm like, okay, it's got to be faster, it's got to be slower. Because they were like, "Do you want a nurse?" And I'm like, "No, I got this by now." Like I've seen them do it hundreds
Right,
of times. Um, and so I just slowly kept like going, okay, well, I'm just gonna work on what I can, which is like physically, I'm gonna build back strength and get back my energy because like that was basically gone. I'm gonna work on like my mental health. I started to go. I was already in therapy, but I started to go more, um, and started to unpack what I had just been through. Like, what do you do with this? You basically like told you're gonna die, and then you live, and you're like, I don't. Why did I go through all of this?
right.
Like, there you have like moments where you're like, am I a bad person? Like, did I deserve this? Um, and also like the grief of a life that wasn't going to get lived.
Right, right.
Like that whole trajectory of like checking boxes of life, like house, career, kids, family, that wasn't going to happen anymore.
Yeah, and sorry, I had some people pop in on Instagram over here. My dear sister, and she's
Mhm.
in right now. How you doing, sis? And I want to say, what you for. Well, I just wanted to comment on what you just said. That idea of the life that we're supposed to have. A lot of people actually dismiss that a lot, right? And this is I talk from personal experience with this. You know, when we have this idea,
Mhm.
we're going to grow up, we're going to have this wonderful career, we're going to get married, have kids, settle down, have the house, the American dream for the
Mhm.
most part,
Yeah.
right? And live a really good life for the most part. And sometimes life says, no, it doesn't work that way. And I often talk about this with people because I say, when you do these things, you set yourself up for disappointment. And then we get upset with life because life says, no, that's not what I said. Instead of taking responsibility and saying, I'm responsible for this. I put these hopes and dreams in my head. I said, I made the plan to have a life like this. And now I have to figure out everything yet again. Now, the beautiful part about it is that just because it didn't go that way, the way that you thought it was, didn't mean that it wasn't going to go the way that it was supposed to go. Right. And I think
Oh,
that's, people don't see that part of it, right? People don't
oh,
see that part of it. So let's
no.
let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in it, you don't see it that way. When I was in that mode of this life, trying to figure out why this life that I was desperate to create in my life um, wasn't going to be lived, and trying to accept that, I was angry. Anger
Hmm.
was a huge emotion that I had to process. And I mean like raging anger, not just like angry, like, oh, you upset me, like raging. Like I had all of these things planned out and you took everything away,
Mhm.
right? Like I was angry because I didn't understand that. I didn't want to accept that this was supposed to happen, number one.
Right.
You know, like, I didn't want to accept that maybe I was supposed to get cancer to be able to live a different life, to be able to live a better life, to live, because we're programmed, well, at least I was from a very young age of like, you go to school, you go to university, you get a husband, you get a job, you get a kid, you get kids, you get all these things, and you go through life like that. And that's what I was taught. And so I was like, oh, okay, let's do that. That sounds great. you know?
Yeah, I mean, I could dig that, and I would say that, I would say I understand that a lot more deeply than what I ever imagined, especially at the age that I am now.
Right?
There's things I look back on my life and I just go, wow, why did I have to go through all of these things? Now, I say that to say this, because as I sit here and I speak with you, Casey, I wouldn't change a thing.
Right?
I
I wouldn't
wouldn't.
I know, and I wouldn't either. And that's like wildly bizarre to say that I would.
Yes, yes. But there's, it's bizarre to say because those that are listening to it right now may be thinking the same thing, like, how, right?
Mhm.
Now, we talk about these things, but let's talk about the other side of it, right? Had we not gone through these things, would we be able to do what we're doing right now? I don't think we would. But we'd be able to have that understanding to be able to walk with other people in their darkest moments that are going through something similar. I don't think so. So unfortunately, the lessons that we learn have to come through those things that are deep embedded in us.
Yeah.
And you can't read about this in some book. No one can sit you down and mentor you this stuff and go, this is what it's like, right? It's the experience behind it, right? It's that lived experience behind it. And to be able to go, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. And someone looks at you and go, how do you know?
Right?
How do you
Or
know?
right? Or are you sure? Are you sure?
Are
Because
you sure?
it doesn't feel that way.
Right, right. And then you look at them and go, yeah, because I had to walk through it too. And then you share your journey with them. And I'm pretty sure you probably talked to many, many of people and they've looked at you and go, hold on. You went through it? Okay. So, okay. And you see the look on their face of excitement, of hope,
Mhm.
right? You know what I'm saying? And to see you standing there with them going, you got this. The strongest words that a person that I thought the three strongest words in the human language was I love you, right? And I found out over a period of time it wasn't that. The three strongest words that you can ever tell somebody is I got you.
Ooh.
Think about that for a minute. I got you. And to
Yeah.
really mean it.
I mean, because no one ever feels like anyone gets them.
There you go. Yes. Because most people will look at you and go, hold on, man. What you mean you got me? I got you.
Right.
And then to walk with them through that mess. And then see the expression on their face when they get to a place where they're breathing again, where they're
Mm.
starting to smile a little bit more, where they're starting to view life and have a little bit more excitement about the days that are coming towards them, right? And to know that you left them in a better place. I think that right there, because I see it all the time when I walk with those men and to look at their faces when they go off and they're playing with their kids and things like that.
Right.
For me, I know that I won't ever be able to have that again. But the fact of that I had it meant more to me than anything in the world.
Right.
Go ahead,
Oh my
please.
God. I mean, when you said that, it gave me goosebumps because it's so true. Like, never ever have have those words been more powerful, because you want someone to be with you in this, even though it's messy and it's ugly, and
Mhm.
it oftentimes does not bring out the best of us. Um, to fuel that hope, to
Right,
fuel, because without hope, like, we are nothing. Like, there's nothing.
right. Well, I want to add to that because yes, you're right, but there's another side to hope, right? That people don't understand. And I want to add another word instead of hope, right? And the reason being, I heard a quote one time from a famous motivational speaker. He says, "When people hope about things, it's the thought of I hope that I get this.
Mm,
I hope that this happens." And it's basically you're begging life for a chance, right? And he said something. He says, "Hope is a beggar."
mm,
Hope says, I want you to give this to me because I deserve it." He goes, "But the strongest thing that you can ever have, faith."
oh,
Reason being now, you know what I'm saying? And I'm look, when I say this, I'm not putting nobody down. I'm just going to add a different perspective to it. Faith is believing that everything is going to be okay when it doesn't look okay. It's saying to yourself or saying to the world, no matter what, I know it's going to be all right. So now what that does, it opens up a variety of possibilities. There's a chance that I may not make it, but it's okay.
mhm,
There's a chance that I can make it, and that's okay too. It's, there's a chance that I may not be able to climb out of this darkness that I'm in, but that's okay because I know everything is going to be okay.
yeah.
I know that everything is going to be all right. It's another famous motivational speaker, E.K. Johnson. Um, and the first time I heard this man, I was just like, wow. He was an NFL football player,
Mm,
and he was on his way to the NFL. And one day during the game, he got hit, boom, and it took him out. He lost the whole left side of his body,
oof.
and so but they was able to bring back function, but he can't use that hand anymore. And so he said, you know what? He goes, from this day forth, not only am I going to use this hand, but I'm going to use this hand to help everyone else out. That
Mm,
strength, resilience right there. And when I say that, that reminds me of you, right? Because you're doing it. And we'll get into that a little bit. And then he said, here's something real deep. Um, he says, what happens when life tells you no?
mm,
Who are you when life tells you no? Are you, what sort of character do you have?
yeah.
Right? He says, so a person is not measured by the good deeds, they're measured by who they are when they stand in the face of adversity,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that speaks a lot to a person, especially, as I sit here and I'm in awe with you, because I go, wow, like here's someone who has gone through the crazy, the depths, and you're sitting here right now, and you did a lot more with that too. You did a lot more with it, which we'll talk about that. But you also had something to come back and throw your curveball. You had a stroke.
Yeah. I was temporarily paralyzed on my left side. I couldn't move half of my body.
Mm. And when did that come about? Was it during the treatment, after the treatment?
Mm.
Because wow.
No, it was 4 months into my treatment the first time. So it happened early, really early on.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's directly from one of the drugs that they were giving me. Although my neurologist likes to fight back and forth, my oncologist basically is the drugs that caused it. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it was a venous thrombosis, which left me paralyzed. And it doesn't just like mess with your body, it messes with your brain. So like cognitive ability is like very limited right after a stroke.
Mhm.
Um, so like even though people are saying like this was what happened to you, you kind of don't really understand. You're not able to ingest that information and process it. So you're just like, why does everything hurt? Why can't I use my arm and why does it hurt? Like your brain it's like didn't know that it can't function half. And I mean, and I guess initially when I was talking, like they couldn't understand me either, which I didn't know they couldn't understand me because in my brain, I made sense. But my because I couldn't use half of my body, the words weren't coming out
Mhm.
correctly. So no one could
Okay.
understand what I was even saying.
Wow. And so that's a whole set of challenges right there, trying to verbalize what's going on with you and not being able to properly articulate it. But it sounds good up here, right? Case, I have to say, you know how many times that I say something in my head and it sounds good, right? It sounds really good until it comes out of my mouth, and I'm just like, yep, I'm going to get in trouble for that one.
It's kind
You
of the
know,
same it's the same feeling, but, like, with normal words, like, "Why does my
right,
arm hurt?"
right. I mean, it's yes, it's totally different, but I'm trying to put a concept together.
Yeah,
You know, as I'm saying it, because I'm like, because after it comes out, it's like, yep, that sounded a lot better in my head than, oh man, like this.
yeah,
And there's no coming back from it because you can't really explain it, right? You know what I'm saying? But in your case, you're like, did you not hear me? I just, and they're like, why is she drooling? Right? Why is
yeah, I mean, there was a point where, like, literally, like, I think the first meal I don't know whose idea this was, but this was such a bad idea. The first meal that I was given because I actually was in a coma f for 3 days, which I didn't find out
oh,
I didn't even find that out till a year after my treatment was done, and I was telling the story about my stroke to somebody else, and I said,
uh-huh.
"Oh, it was like I was in a coma for 3 hours." My ex-husband got so angry. He goes, "No, that's not what happened." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You were in a coma for 3 days." I had no idea. No one told me
Yeah,
because we were just moving on to, like, how do we recover from this as quickly as possible.
yeah,
Um, so, like, no one mentioned to me how long I was in a coma, and so I'm finding out, like, real information, like, a year later, and, to wake up and all of a sudden, no one can understand me. I don't know what happened, and everything just hurts, like, it was mind-boggling. So, I don't know whose idea this was, but I wanted, like, real food for the first time after a
mhm.
while, and I was like, "Anything." I'm like, "I don't care." So, somebody had the bright idea of getting me noodles to eat. Mind you, I can't close half of my mouth.
See, you can't be doing that, case. It's like I'm over here and I'm trying not to laugh, but you laughing, and so now I don't have a.
Because it was, like, I would literally put it in my mouth and it would come right back out.
See,
I
now I
don't know
have
whose
this visual. Now I have this visual, and then you know what? I'm blaming you for this one. Okay, I'm totally blaming you for this one because I was sitting here trying not to think about that, but then all I have is this image of Casey going, "Really?
Yep.
Oh well."
And then I think at the time, my ex-husband goes, "I don't think noodles was a good idea." I go, "I don't think so either."
Understood. I definitely understood. But the
But
fact
he
of that you wanted the solid food, you
right,
wanted
and
real
noodles.
food, and see now, I know there's people probably laughing right now and everything, and I'm glad that I'm able to laugh with you and things like that. I really am, because the image that I have in my head is just like,
Exactly what you think
but
it is. Yes.
yeah, yeah, but if I had been there, I probably would have been like, let me wipe that up for you,
Yeah.
and then later on we can laugh about it and
Yeah.
things like that. So, and I've known people who have had strokes before. I um, actually lost my mother to a stroke,
Mm,
right? Unfortunately, and I had to watch that.
mm,
And I remember when I got the news, my sister calls me and tells me my mom's in the hospital. I'm in Colorado, she's in Virginia, and I flew back. And I was in the hospital with my mom for 3 days, and people was looking at me like, "Dude, go home, take a shower." I was like,
mm,
"No, I'm not going to leave her," you know. And to watch that, and I can only imagine your then husband, watching you go through that and the things that are running through his head. But most importantly, what's running through your head, right? Having no bodily function and things like that. It's it's life changing.
mhm,
It's life changing to not only watch your loved one go through it. So, I'm speaking from your husband's perspective when I say that, because, and again, my own experience watching your loved one go through that, the uncertainty, but the hope of saying, you know what, this is just a bump in the road. We're going to get through this, and then having your life change when they don't, but also having your life change when you're saying, now I have to relearn not only how to get some sort of function back, but if not, I have to learn how to live without, right? And then going, what does life look like now with the cancer,
mhm,
with this stroke? So when you said something in the beginning, like, what did I do, right?
mhm.
And what did I do to deserve this? Or am I a bad person? Because people don't understand. People think about these things when you're going through it, like, am I a bad person? What did I do to deserve this? Maybe I used to have this statement, you know, after all the things I had to go through. There's parts of my life that when I tell people, they're like, dude, what? And then there's people that's been with me for quite some time, and they'll look at you and go, we still trying to figure out how he did it.
Mm.
And I look at him and go, I have no fucking idea.
Right?
Right? You know what I'm saying? I would tell him I have no idea how I got here. Right? Because I wanted to give up
Yeah.
and just be like, you can keep that. Okay. But it also made me feel as if I was paying for stuff that I never done, like in a past life. Right? Like, who was I in a past life to make me have to deal with this stuff right now?
100%.
Yeah, so I'm still trying to figure out who I'm paying for, because me and that individual got to fight. We gonna have to, like, look, you need to get yourself together, right,
Mhm.
and stop trying to drag me into your stuff. I had nothing to do with this. But it goes back to what I said before. I wouldn't change it for the
Right?
world.
Right? Like I as much as like no one should ever have to go through a stroke, let alone cancer or any of it. Like I do not take this body for granted. Let me tell
Right,
you. Every, every day I'm so grateful for it. It doesn't do
right.
a lot of the things that it used to, and that's fine, but I'm so grateful that I have the mobility that I have. And
Mm-hmm.
that is like whenever I get frustrated, I just go, "You know what? Could be worse. You could be in
Yeah.
a wheelchair like you were. You know what that's like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You could, and so it does bring you back to reality and go,
It
"Yeah,
does.
this is okay. I'm okay."
Yeah. It's that. whole "I got you" thing, right? You know what I'm saying? I got you.
Yeah.
And when you can tell yourself that, no, you don't understand. I've already gone through some of the craziest things. I got you. I got you. But now I want to talk about this because you managed to turn this around in such a positive way, such an amazing way. You became a trauma informed cancer coach.
Yes.
What what made you decide to want to do that?
So when I got done with treatment and my team was like, "Yeah, we think you can go live life, like go try it after like another 6 months."
Mhm.
Um, I said, "Great, how do you do that?" Right? What do I need to do to get my life back? And their only advice was eat right and exercise. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. Like, I feel like there should be something more. And there wasn't. There was no like, how do you recover from something so massive, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I was long story short, I basically had a nervous breakdown. And I was in therapy at the time too, by the way, like and still had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Um, I couldn't understand what had happened the last 4 or 5 years. I really was struggling with trying to make meaning of it and understanding what I'd been through and top of the physical recovery too, right?
Mhm.
So, because of my own struggle, I was like, I can't be the only one that feels like they're broken or something's wrong with them or that, they can't figure out why everyone else is so happy and they feel not like miserable kind of a little bit. Like so the more I shared organically just like how I was feeling and actually talked about all of the anger and the fear and the everything that led to my messy breakdown, the more women were reaching out to me and asking me like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "Oh my
Mm.
god, is this why I'm here? Like, am I here to help others through this?" Like, I know that sounds like a very woo-woo thing, but like you start to realize like there's a higher purpose to all this. And I think that's honestly why I'm still here is because the universe was like, "Hey, like you're supposed to lead people back to health and lead them back to life
Mhm.
and give them a way, an opportunity to get back to living life instead of feeling what I did." And so I help women physically, mentally, and emotionally recover. I help women through treatment. I help like a lot of it's a lot of mindset, right? Like we talked about hope and faith and just like the mental fortitude of resiliency of getting through this.
Mhm.
It's like you and I had to do this on our own, figuring it out, picking ourselves up every single time.
Yeah.
I would have given anything to have somebody cheerlead me along the way to help me to go, "You're gonna be okay. I got you." Right?
There you
Like,
go.
I got you. I would have to have somebody say that in those moments, I would have been like, "Oh my god, thank you." Like, "Where have you been?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so to give back to such an underserved community, and I say underserved because there's just not a lot of support after treatment ends. That means everything to me, like, to see someone come back to life.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. I appreciate that.
Most
And
definitely.
and it's everything that I did to figure out how to live life again, right? Like
Yeah.
what you've done for yourself is what you help people through,
That's the key.
right?
That is the key, right? And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right?
Mhm.
We have this thought, this idea about how we're going to live life. We come up with a game plan.
Oh, yeah.
And we go and say, this is what I'm going to do at an early age. Because you remember when you're in school and the teacher asks you, what do you want to be when you get older? Right?
Right. Yeah.
How many of those individuals actually became what they said they were going to be? You
I
know,
don't That's a
because
great question.
I'm not. Look, I'm not what I said I was going to be, but in a way I am. Okay. Now, what I mean by that, when I was younger, all I wanted to do was draw comic books. Right? I
Oh.
wanted to become an animator. I wanted to draw because I used to watch things like He-Man and Fantastic Four and Johnny
Mm,
Quest and
yeah.
Thundercats and and my sister loved My Little Pony and the Care Bears and Raggedy Ann and Ann. I used to draw these things for it. I even made a comic book. I used to get in trouble. Look, Case, I got my butt whipped all the time because I was always drawing on my mama's curtains, right? Yeah,
Oh.
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Mom, and I got so good at it that I would hide it behind the couch, right? So I would draw on her curtains, and then I pushed the couch in front of it, and Mom's was like, she never even knew. And then I would draw on the walls and stuff
Oh.
like that, right? And I know. Look, and look, I don't think that's a bad thing, right? You know what I'm saying? I think we are who we're supposed to be. It's
Yeah.
tapping into it and then accepting who we are, right? It's key to it. And I'm gonna pop this up here. This is the reason why I'm saying this. You know what I'm saying? And laugh. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. That's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. We're still growing. We're still growing, right? You know what I'm saying? And I'm a Toys R Us kid, so who really wants to grow up? Whatever, right? But yeah, I wanted to do all those things.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm nowhere near that.
No, I'm nowhere near where I had phases
Nowhere
of
near
being
it.
a school teacher. I wanted to be for a hot minute. I wanted to be Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers. Okay, Mr. Rogers neighborhood. Okay, I get you. I got that.
I
Yeah.
had a
Bob Barker.
yep. I had a huge phase of that. Like when I was a kid, that's what I wanted to be. I thought that would, helping other people was what I'm doing. And what that I mean, I'm doing that in a different way, but the kindness and compassion he had towards everyone is something that I
Yeah.
deeply resonated with me as a kid.
Hmm.
So, it still resonates with me as an adult. And, but yeah, I'd be very curious to see, like, do we actually end up where we think we're gonna be or not? You know?
I want to say yes, we do, right? Reason being, if you look back on life, right, and the path that you that was chosen for you, not the path that you thought you was going to walk, you may have started along this path, and it's taking you through some things.
Mhm.
It's taking you through some things. Now, what's the difference between the work that you do now and the thought of becoming a teacher?
There's not much difference. Like you're still educating,
There
you're
you go.
still encouraging, you're still motivating, you're still doing all of those things, which is
Exactly.
basically what a teacher does.
You're just doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
Sometimes these paths in life that is chosen for us is far more deeper than anything.
Mhm.
People would say you was chosen to do this, right? In a lot of ways, I have to say, yeah, because not too many people can do the work that we do. At least with the compassion and the empathy that we have for those individuals that are walking this, that are now embarking on this journey with no one that says, "I got you,"
Right.
with no one, with no one in their corner saying, "Hey, let me just sit with you for a bit." We become what we needed for those that need us,
Yeah. Oh, yes.
right?
Yes, that's
Um, and,
so
and
spot on.
and yeah, we become what we needed for those that are going through something similar for them, and that right there changes the whole dynamic of how we look at the paths that we've been on. And I'm and I could be wrong, right? But for me, so I'm just going to speak from my perspective. It all lined up the way that it was supposed to because I still became what I said I was going to be when I got older. Just not in the way that I thought I was going to be it.
Right.
So, and what I mean by that, I'm still creative. I
Yeah.
create videos. I'm still being able to use my creativity to create meaningful things for other individuals to enjoy, right? The character, the personality that I have now was part of the development of being that kid that wanted to do comic books. Because at some point, hmm, I became the superhero in my own story,
Yeah.
right? I became that I dreamed about being. I was that Thundercat. I was that Transformer or that GI Joe. I am now it,
Right.
right? Because I mean, it's weird to look at it that way, but in a lot of ways, it's the truth. You became the teacher, the educator through the trials and tribulations, through the adversity, and you found love and purpose through the person that you are now, the character, the personality,
Right.
the knowledge that was
Hmm.
given to you. You can't read about that in a book, and no one can give it to you. But now you have it. So I guess it really just worked out the way it was supposed to,
I
right?
agree. I agree. I think I wouldn't like we talked about earlier, like I
Yeah.
wouldn't change anything. Like it's
It's
oh, I say this to people and they don't believe me, but I wouldn't not go through that again because I know what I'm experiencing now. It's 100 million times better than anything I experienced prior to even cancer.
yeah, yeah. And you wrote a book.
I did.
So what made you decide to write the book?
I don't I always say, like, it poured out of me. I couldn't write it fast enough. Like, I didn't intend to. I started writing one day, and I kept, like, a blog the entire time, but this was different. I just sat down, opened up a Word document, and it just flowed out of me as if, like, I was vomiting. My fingers couldn't type fast enough, and I just sat down every day until it was all of a sudden, 6 months later, it was like, it was done. Like, that was it. Like, and I couldn't believe it because I was like, "I just wrote a book?" Like, I didn't think I would ever see myself as an author. And so, yeah, it just poured out of me, found an editor, edited it, and then I really didn't wanna go the traditional way of publishing because I didn't want someone to water down what I had to say,
Right.
and self-published, and it's out there in the world for people to purchase on Amazon.
Do you got a copy of your book that you can show people?
I do. Where do I have that? Sorry. It is on Amazon, and this is sorry, the not for resale, this is, like, the first copy that I got. It's called Finding Your Way Back to Heart Center, Cancer Treatment Ended, Now What? And it's a lot of it's not everything that I coach on now because obviously 6 years 7 years later, there's a lot of growth and evolution that I use,
Mhm.
for my clients, but it is the initial steps, like some of the questions I still ask my clients, some of the stories I still share because they're relevant to understanding what it feels like to come out of something so traumatic in their lives.
Yeah. You also have a YouTube channel.
I do.
Let's talk
I
about your YouTube channel.
It's called The Happier Hustle, and it's that's the company. I named my own company, and I share, uh bits and pieces on there. I'm growing it slowly. It's a lot of work. I share client success because I want people to see like there's examples of other women who struggle too, and like it's okay that we're struggling. Like there's nothing bad about it or good, but that there is a way forward out of
I
it.
love that. I love that. And how often do you post on your
Not
YouTube
consistent
channel?
enough. Like once a week.
Oh,
Once a week.
well, we got to talk about this. Hmm. No, I think it's fantastic because one thing that I've learned, these stories that we share with individuals, right? Having a YouTube channel will be here long after we're gone.
It's true.
It's a documentation, and this is a reality that I came up with. And most people may think that it's a sad reality. It really isn't. It's a life reality. We're not going to be here forever.
Mm-mm.
But while we're here, it's our job to make sure that people know that we're here,
Ooh,
or make sure that they know that we was here. Make sure that we leave something behind that adds value to people's lives.
yeah.
Because some of us live in reality that after this, there's no more.
Mm,
There's no more. There's like for me, there's no more coming after me.
yeah.
I'm the last,
Yeah.
right? Now I could have easily went and hid in a cave and just said, doesn't matter. And no one would ever remember me.
Right.
Even now, right? We do these things. People are going to remember these conversations and things like that. The truth of the matter is that people may forget my name,
Mm-hmm.
but they'll never forget the way I made them feel.
Yeah.
So I make it a point every day to make sure that I treat people well, that I use my gift in such a good way that I don't take advantage of people, but to make sure that I add value to their lives in hopes that they will do the same for someone else in a similar situation.
Yeah. I like to call it like the ripple effect. You're impacting someone's life who could be impacting someone else because of that. And that ripple effect is it goes beyond that. I think we'll never even really understand the impact of that,
Hmm.
maybe ever. But it lives forever. Like it's slowly down there. Yeah, a
Yeah,
beautiful digital legacy. That is true, right? Because
yeah,
there's going to be somebody that finds you 50 years from now and they're going to be like, who's this Tony Lynch guy? Oh my God, his story. Okay, if he got through that, like maybe he's got more to share and like more wisdom and more things that can help me. And you know, I always that's how I kind of thought about it is if I can impact one person positively, one person,
mhm.
that's it. Then it wasn't for nothing. And that's all that matters.
That's that right there makes life a beautiful place to be, regardless of what it looks like behind you.
Right.
You have the ability to write the best romance novel that you can ever think of. And I say that to say this, because when you think of a romance novel, it does come with the ups and downs. It does come with the heartbreak and the tears, and but it also comes with the love and community and connection. So if you're going to write it the best way you know how,
Hmm.
and then eventually, and I'm gonna steal this quote from Batman, right? Eventually, you may be lucky enough to see the villain become the superhero
Right.
in your story. Now, don't let that go over your head because a lot of times we are our own villains in our own
Mhm.
stories. So make sure before you leave this place, you become the superhero
Mhm.
in your own life, and then you can inspire other people to do the same. And you said people can find your book on Amazon, correct?
Yes, Amazon.
Okay. And you gave me those links so people go there and check her out, but also go check out her YouTube channel as well. So now, Casey, I have two more questions for you.
Sure.
Two more. If you could be so kind to let the audience know where they can find you.
So you can always find me on Facebook and Instagram. It's The Happier Hustle. And I share a lot of my life and the things that I've gone through those two modalities. I also have my YouTube channel, and you can also just reach out and email me.
Yeah, most definitely. To my podcasters out there, guys, this is a great opportunity to be able to have someone with a powerful story on your show. Reach out, please. But for those out there that's looking for hope, the cancer stroke survivors out there, please go and check out her book. Reach out to her, ask some questions. Right, she's helping people out in a huge positive way. So but there's a lot of great opportunities there as well. So now, Casey, my second question would be, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I've been asked this question because the ongoing joke with going through chemotherapy and radiation is like, "Where's my superhero power?" Like, because Deadpool came out and he got a superpower, but like, where's mine? Like, how
Yes,
unfair this
yes.
is. I think it, I would love to be invisible. Oh my God, I would love it.
Okay, we're going to have to elaborate on this a little bit, right? Because I mean, just the look and a smile on your face, I'm just thinking, how much mischievousness do you have going on right now? You know what I'm saying? Just to be invisible, messing with people. Because I can see you doing it. I can totally see you messing with people for no reason. Oh, yeah? Y'all want to believe in ghosts today? Start just opening up cabinets and moving dishes around and, you know what I'm saying? Start turning on the stove, cooking stuff. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I mean, like, kind of like that, but also, like, to just be able to go places and no one knows you're there, like, wherever you wanna go, you can go, and no one, like, you can go into shows and things, and, like, no one knows you're there.
Okay. I can definitely see that. I can.
Right? I can go on an airplane and no one knows I'm taking up a seat, so
Now that could be pretty bad though. That can because you be sitting there and all of a sudden somebody comes to sit on you.
yeah, that's not a good idea, but,
That's not a good idea. Okay, so maybe not go on an airplane to take up somebody's seat and things like that. I mean, but all the rest of it because I mean, when you think about invisibility, I would be eating your popcorn. I would. And you'd be like,
right.
what in the world is going on? Next thing you know, you down to like three kernels in your popcorn bag. Your Mike and Ike's have disappeared. You're trying to figure out where your drink is. And like that, I didn't even take a drink out of it. I know I drank it all, things like that. But then I can see I'm mischievous too. I'm I got a lot of friends with babies, right? You know what I'm saying? So can you imagine the things that I would do with them? Oh, they'd be
Oh.
traumatized by the time they're even 2 years old.
Oh,
It
yeah.
would be good, you know. But that's the beautiful thing, right? Because sometimes kids need to be bullied too. People don't report me, but I mean,
But it's harmless. It's not like you're trying to, like, traumatize them for life. It's harmless fun, like,
no, I'm traumatizing them for life. I really am. Okay. My friends who have kids, they already know the kids have already, they're grown up. Some of them are grown up now. And when I say I've traumatized them, they look at me and go, as soon as you get old, we're pushing you out in the middle of the street. So they've already plotted their revenge. And they're only
It's a
like
plan
14,
for
15,
you.
16. Yeah, they've already plotted on me, right? They're like, as soon as you get old, that's why I stay in shape, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to give them a run for their money. I mean, but I got 72 god kids. And I'm pretty sure, 70 out of the 72 have already thought about ways of duct taping me and pushing me down a flight of stairs. I'm sure they have.
Well, don't give them
Which
the
is,
opportunity.
I know, I mean, eventually I got to get old, you know what I'm saying? So I've already mapped this out. It's going to be painless. It's going to be painless. That's why I do them that way. So now my last thing for you, Casey, if you could leave the audience with something, what would you leave them with?
Ooh, um, the body can endure a lot. It's your mind that you have to convince, and that is so true. It is our mindset and how we think and feel every day matters almost more than our physical body.
Amazing. Amazing. And with that being said, Casey, I want to say thank you again. We should most definitely do this again. And for everyone out there that's tuning in, if you're just tuning in, you didn't catch the full episode, do me a favor, head on over to the YouTube channel. You can check it out on either my channel or Casey's channel, but check out the full story. Powerful, powerful. From cancer survivor to stroke to becoming an author and a YouTuber and helping people in such an amazing way. Well, helping women in such an amazing way. Walk through the experiences of being diagnosed, going through the treatment, but also going through recovery, right?
Mhm.
Casey, again, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for such a powerful journey. And for everyone else out there, if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And of course, we're about to wrap this one up. Guys, thank you for always allowing me to bring these amazing stories to you guys and the support that you give me. I love you. And we're going to see you guys in the next one. Have an amazing day. Peace.